Hey guys, before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. I never thought a simple family dinner could turn into one of the most humiliating nights of my life. My name is David and I've always tried to be the calm, composed husband. My wife Samantha has a vibrant personality, fun, charming, and the type of person everyone gravitates towards. Most of the time that's a blessing, but sometimes it comes with consequences I never imagined. It all started on a Saturday evening, when we were invited to her cousin's wedding reception. I was looking forward to it, thinking it would be a nice evening with family. Samantha, however, seemed unusually excited, like she had a plan. She whispered to me as we left, "Just wait, you'll see." I laughed it off, assuming it was her way of teasing me. The reception hall was packed. Families mingled, children ran around, and the music created a lively atmosphere. As we entered, Samantha immediately spotted her friends and cousins and rushed over to greet them. I followed behind, trying to keep pace, when suddenly she grabbed my arm in front of everyone and said loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "David still can't dance even after all these years. Don't worry. I'll show everyone what I mean." I froze. The room seemed to hush for a moment, and all eyes turned to us. I felt my face burn with embarrassment. I could see the amused smirks on some relatives' faces, and my heart sank. I had never felt so exposed. My mind raced, wondering if I should respond, argue, or just walk away. But before I could say anything, Samantha clapped her hands and pointed toward the dance floor, insisting I demonstrate my lack of skills. I sighed internally and stepped forward, trying to maintain composure. But I couldn't shake off the humiliation, especially because everyone was watching, laughing, and whispering. My confidence was dwindling with every step. I tried to smile, trying to play along, but the sting of embarrassment was sharp. Then something unexpected happened. Someone came into the scene that I hadn't anticipated. Her cousin Julia, a quiet, reserved woman, approached us. I had barely spoken to her before, but she carried herself with a confidence that immediately commanded attention. The room seemed to notice her too, as conversation slowed and eyes shifted toward her. Julia looked at Samantha with a calm but piercing gaze, and I could sense that the evening was about to take a turn, one that no one, including Samantha, would see coming. Julia's presence alone changed the energy in the room. Samantha, who had been brimming with confidence moments ago, suddenly seemed hesitant. Julia didn't say anything immediately. She just walked up to the dance floor where I stood, trying to recover my composure. Her eyes met mine, giving a subtle nod as if to reassure me that I wasn't alone in this. Then Julia turned to Samantha, her voice calm but sharp enough for a few nearby relatives to hear. "Samantha, I think you've had your fun. Maybe it's time to let people enjoy the evening without your theatrics." There was a pause and I could see Samantha blink, caught off guard. The room grew quiet, curious about what was about to unfold. I wanted to sink into the floor, but Julia wasn't done. She stepped closer and continued, "David may not be the best dancer, but he's standing here with dignity while you," her gaze pierced Samantha's eyes, "are trying to embarrass him for your amusement." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some relatives murmured in agreement, others looked surprised, but the shift was clear. Julia had turned the attention from me being humiliated to Samantha's behavior. I felt a wave of relief mixed with gratitude. I had never seen anyone intervene like that on my behalf in such a calm, commanding way. Samantha's lips pressed into a thin line. For a moment I thought she might argue or try to regain control, but Julia held her gaze steadily. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Julia took my hand. "Come on," she said, leading me to the dance floor with a confident smile. "Let's show them how it's done." I hesitated, surprised by the gesture. The room collectively held its breath. And then we danced, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but with ease and poise. The laughter this time was different. It wasn't mocking me, it was light, warm, and inclusive. People began clapping along, and soon the tension melted away. Samantha, meanwhile, stood frozen, realizing that her plan to embarrass me had completely backfired. Her cousin, whom no one expected to intervene, had turned the evening around in my favor. I could see a flicker of shame cross her face, and at that moment, I felt a shift in our dynamic. A realization that trying to humiliate someone publicly rarely ends well, especially when there are witnesses who value respect over spectacle. By the end of the night, I walked out of that reception feeling a mix of relief, validation, and quiet triumph. Julia had not only saved me from embarrassment, but had also reminded Samantha, and everyone watching, that dignity and respect always speak louder than theatrics and mockery. After the dance, the atmosphere in the hall had completely shifted. Guests who had been whispering and chuckling now looked at Samantha with subtle surprise, some with judgment, and a few even with admiration for Julia. I stayed on the dance floor for a moment, catching my breath, while Samantha lingered awkwardly near the edge, clearly unsure of what to do next. Julia, sensing the tension, gave me a small wink and stepped back, allowing me to regain my composure. "Sometimes," she said quietly, just loud enough for me to hear, "people need a reminder that respect isn't optional even at a wedding." I nodded silently, grateful for her intervention and impressed by her poise. Later that evening, as we sat at our table, Samantha avoided eye contact. I could feel the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. I didn't need to confront her directly. Her cousin's actions had already done what I couldn't in front of everyone. It was a lesson in humility, and I sensed that Samantha understood it deeply. Throughout the night, relatives came up to me, expressing their amusement and some discreetly complimenting me on handling the situation. I realized that sometimes the way you carry yourself and the people who stand by you say more about your character than any public display could. It was an eye-opener, both about Samantha and about the importance of allies in moments of conflict. By the time we left the reception, Samantha remained quiet in the car. I glanced at her and said softly, "I hope you learned something tonight." She didn't respond immediately, but I could feel a subtle change in her demeanor. A mixture of embarrassment and acknowledgement. It wasn't dramatic or loud, but it was there. That night, I reflected on what had happened. I realized that public humiliation can sting, but the presence of someone who steps in at the right moment can completely change the outcome. Julia's courage and calmness had saved me from what could have been a very embarrassing situation. More importantly, it taught Samantha a valuable lesson about respect, dignity, and the consequences of trying to assert control in the wrong way. As we drove home, I felt a quiet sense of relief. Not only had the evening turned around, but I had also gained a renewed sense of confidence in myself and in the power of integrity. Samantha may have tried to embarrass me, but thanks to Julia, the tables had turned in the most unexpected, satisfying way.